if you'll send me an email or a text today, so I'll make sure I have it on there. But that's all I have for that. And with that, we'll go ahead and start with Coach.
Thanks, Stephen. Good afternoon to everybody. Appreciate you taking time to connect. It's certainly good and a little bit unusual to have Saturday off. That's not something we get to do too often. So certainly gave the players a chance to relax a little bit and recharge and just enjoy a little break after doing a good job in a really short week and maximizing that out. So that was great. And just take a minute to look back for a second. It's great to get the win. Obviously, I think our players really worked hard last week, and they did a good job out there on the field. Good to see their efforts get rewarded. I think overall, probably the biggest thing is that we played clean football out there, did a good job with the penalties and the turnover takeaway battle. So that certainly gives you a chance, and certainly we have a lot to work on right now. But it is good to have Floyd back in the building. Also, just want to take 1 minute and just recognize or congratulate Zach Van Volkenberg for being recognized by the Big Ten as Defensive Player of the Week. Zach's a really good story, tremendous young guy. As you know, joined our team 2 years ago from Hillsdale College as a graduate transfer, Russian studies. And, really the biggest thing I'd say about Zach since he's gotten here, he's really takes a mature approach, works extremely hard. He's got a great attitude and a great work ethic, and those things I think are what, really surfaced on Friday night. And, he's really been playing better with each opportunity. You can see him playing faster, more comfortable now, and just he really works hard, but very respected by everybody on the team. So happy to see him get recognized for sure. A couple words about Penn State or the Penn State game. First of all, our captains are the same with the addition of one. Chauncey Golston and Nick Neiman will still go out for the defense. Matt Hankins has joined that group. The voting's been really close. And then offensively got Mekhi Sargent, Tyler Linderbaum, and Keith Duncan with special teams. So happy to have those guys recognized as our captains for the week. And then basically on Sunday, our focus turned entirely to Penn State, trying to get ready for them. And no big surprise when you look at Penn State. They're a very impressive team, pretty much talented at every position. And that really comes as no surprise. And their backups look very much the same. They play a lot of people and have done that traditionally. So, they're a good football team, certainly a team that's better than their record right now. And, I've got 70 years history, I guess, watching Penn State. They're not quite 70, but I do know this. They've recruited well for over 70 years and been coached well. I think that's pretty much the same. When I was in high school, I think, they had Lydell Mitchell and Franco Harris in the backfield, 2 number 1 picks. So kind of tells you a little bit about how they've been and how they continue to be. They've got a really good program, a lot of good players, and they're well coached. And, if you look at them statistically, they're a very impressive football team, just, for whatever reason have come up short. So, we know it's going to be a big challenge for us. It's actually been a decade since we've beaten Penn State, or close to a decade. And, we know we have a big challenge in our hands as we look forward. So we'll do our best to get ready for it this week. Just the other thing to note, real quickly, it's we're at the halfway point in the Big Ten right now. And, I don't know, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I doubt many people are doing it any differently than we are. You're just kind of looking at things day by day, not taking anything for granted. And, we're all getting ready, obviously, to try to prepare and compete for the weekend, the competition on the weekend. But there's a lot of variables right now. And I think real simply, we're just trying to look out for our health as individuals and as a team, and then also trying to improve on a daily basis. And it's really, been the most unusual season probably for any of us to be involved in. And it's just kind of our reality right now. So that's really where we're at right now. And with all that being said, I'll just throw it out for questions.
Okay, if you have a question for Coach Ferentz, please raise your hand by clicking on the participant button at the bottom of your screen, and we will make our way down the lineup. Coach, the first question from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Kirk, I think you've had 6 different sophomores as your primary quarterback over your tenure, and they've all had their ups and their downs. And what's kind of been the challenge with Spencer? Is he much different than, say, Drew Tate, Jake Rudock, Nate Stanley, and some of the others? And in what have you learned over the years with younger quarterbacks or your primary starters that you're maybe applying now?
Yeah, first of all, they're all different. They're all different kinds of quarterbacks, and they're all different personalities. Certainly, there are some similarities between some of them. Some of them are truly unique, but they've all had different paths. I'd say Spencer's is probably the most unusual, as I just kind of cited with the pandemic. Nobody could have even dreamt how the road was going to be since March 13th when we left campus here. So, it's just really been an unusual path. You think about a guy like Brad Banks, first guy that pops in my mind. Brad at least had the luxury of playing a couple series each game in 2001. We fully anticipated him being our quarterback in 2002, so we tried to get him in for at least a couple series per game. So he had that. He had spring ball, had a normal summer, and all those kinds of things to prepare him. And while the other guys, you mentioned, there's other ones too, didn't necessarily play as juniors or play the year before they became starters. They still had more of a normal progression, if you will, namely spring practice and a normal summer. And we didn't have one day of spring practice. We didn't have a normal summer by any stretch. And then it even got more screwed up after August 11th. So when we actually got going, we had never gone through a path like that. And I said this, I think back in May, this whole thing, the way it was shaping out, it looked to me like it was going to be a benefit to have a team with good genetics or an experienced quarterback, either one of those two things. Well, both of those things, the combination would help you in a pandemic situation. So, next time we're in one, we'll know what to look for. But I think Spencer's done a really good job. I think he's led our team, done a really good job out there. He's learning weekly. And probably the most impressive thing about him is just, his awareness and composure out there. I think he's really done a good job that way. No game is easy, and there's always ups and downs, a lot of situations that happen. And he just seems to have a good feel and a good grip on things. And it's just like any position. Players typically get better with experience. They get better if they have a good attitude, good work ethic, and Spencer has those things.
The next question from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Kirk, how you doing?
Good.
You got to see your second team defense out for 15 snaps. I mean, you mentioned the lack of spring ball. How important was that just to get to see those guys? And did anyone kind of, pique your interest at how well they played the other day?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've had a rough outing the last 2 weeks, but the good news is they've been on the field the last 2 weeks. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the offense out there Friday night other than take a knee. But I mean, two things about that. When you get that opportunity, first of all, it's a reward for guys that have worked every bit as hard typically as the first team guys. So it's a chance for them to get out there on the field and just kind of get a reward, a little bit of a payday for all their effort. And then secondly, those experiences are invaluable regardless of the score, regardless of the situation, just to be out there in a game field. It doesn't sound like much, but it is. It's a big deal. And so, a lot of things to correct. Certainly, we have a lot of things to correct with our first teams, but it was good for those guys to get out there, to get some experience against really good players, their starters. And, they got schooled a little bit, but hopefully that'll make them better as they move down in their careers here.
The next question from Isaac Goffin.
Hi, Coach. I was wondering what it takes to be a good center in your program.
A good center?
Yes.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting position. At least the way we do things, we prefer to get a center and that can think a little bit, communicate, hopefully has a little bit of leadership qualities. Those are good things, certainly, because he is kind of the hub of what goes on up front. He's got to have a connection with the quarterback and understand his language a little bit. And they've got to be thinking the same way. And, so that's kind of where it all starts. Those are some tangible and intangible items. And then, there's certain blocks the center has to, he's got a tough job because he's got to get the ball to the quarterback, whether it's under center or snap, shotgun, and then also block. So, I've always kind of thought he had the toughest job out there in the field. And there are certain blocks in our offense that aren't easy to execute. So if you get a guy that's got that ability, it's a really good thing. I mean, at the end of the day, centers are the MVPs. Quarterbacks think they're big shots, but if they don't get the ball, they're going nowhere. So you can't play a game without a center. So it's just a really important position.
The next question from Adam Hensley.
Yeah, Kirk, I know you mentioned Zach to start off your press conference here, but as a whole, out of the defensive line, what sort of growth have you seen over these last couple games?
Well, Zach's a really good illustration of it, but I would say the same thing about Davion. I'd say the same thing about Jack, and I'd say the same thing about Chauncey. And that's one of our mantras in the program is, you know, if our best players aren't playing their best and if they're not improving, we're probably going to be in trouble. And Chauncey's a great illustration of, you know, the kind of guys that we typically work with. You know, Chauncey was a skinny kid out of high school. He and Cedric Lattimore came here together. Ced played as a true freshman. Chauncey redshirted. He's grown, he's developed, and has really shaped into a good player, not just this year, but, you know, he really started on that path a couple of years ago where his hard work started to show up on the field. And he's playing really well right now as a senior. That's certainly what we hoped for and expected that. But he's playing at a high level and really leading well. And then Jack, you know, this is all new to him. Our style of defense is very different than what he was used to. I'm sure it was the same way for Zach when he got here. And you know, Davion's a guy who's been in our program, and now you're really seeing him play with confidence. And he's always played with a high energy, but he's starting to develop a little confidence, and that's something you earn too. So, you know, the entire group was one that outside of Chauncey was, you know, fairly inexperienced, and we were just hoping that you know, they'd come along, and I think they've made progress, especially in the last 2 weeks. But you know, it's another big test this week. These guys have a good veteran line, very talented, very, you know, big, you know, they know what they're doing. They've got a tough scheme, and it's going to be a big challenge for us again.
The next question from Mike Halas.
Kirk, I'll ask you this short question to set up my main question, but is it as jarring for you to see Penn State at 0-4 as it is for probably the rest of us?
Yeah, it just doesn't add up, you know, especially when you watch the film. So doesn't add up at football. You know, you've heard me say it before, football is a strange game. You just never can predict everything that's going to happen.
Well, okay, that asked, how thin is the line in your sport? I mean, you at both ends, you look at Northwestern 1-8 in the conference last year, and you see what they're doing this year. And then, you know, at the other end, Penn State and Michigan, considered national powers, struggling like crazy. How do you keep the even keel? What happens to make those things happen at either end?
Yeah, you know, I think the first answer is just, you know, I don't know, this year's going to have an asterisk next to it. And, you know, we're all competing, we're all playing pretty much by the same rules, but there's, you know, as we know, region to region, things are different. And, you know, with the virus right now, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know if the teams had, you know, X amount of guys out, and all those kinds of pieces of information really, you know, they're not out there. So, you know, to go through what all of us have gone through over the last couple of months, it's really hard to describe. It's just been very different, very unusual. So I think that just kind of cast a shadow over this whole season, quite frankly. You know, I mean, if you just got an awesome team and you got all kinds of depth, then it's really not that big a deal. And there's a handful of teams like that in the country. But I think once you get past that group of people, it's really, you know, hard to say what's going to happen or predict what's going to happen. So, you know, you got to kind of throw that out. Now, as far as Northwestern goes, in my opinion, you know, it's kind of like the record Penn State has right now. Like Northwestern wasn't that far away last year, in my opinion. They're just kind of missing a little bit something. And, you know, we talked when we played them about them picking up the quarterback, a perfect fit for their operation. And, you know, I think we're, you know, it's just that little variable to get over the top sometimes. And that's not surprising. They do a great job up there, and they have for quite some time. So, you know, it's kind of almost two different discussions in some ways, but you know, there's just a lot of strange things going on this year. And I'll go out on a limb and say there's going to be more strange things here in the next 6-8 weeks.
Take the next question from Tom Kakert.
Hey, Kirk, a couple of housekeeping things. Coy Cronk, John Wagner, any updates on those two? And also, what's your situation going to be with middle linebacker this week? You kind of played 2 series each for John or for Jack and Seth. Are you going to continue to do that, or just kind of pick one?
I'll start there probably. You know, we haven't had that discussion yet, but you know, Jack's only a week plus into it now, so you know, it's not like his conditioning base is all that good, and you know, we'd like to have him for the rest of the season, so we're going to try to be careful there. Plus, both he and Seth are playing really well, so I would anticipate both them playing. John, we don't expect to be ready this week. And then Coy actually did start working again yesterday morning. I don't want to judge him yet. We've had 2 days on the field. Hopefully he'll be able to help us a little bit, but you know, we'll see what it looks like after tomorrow and see what it looks like on Friday.
The next question from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Kirk, when you look at Tyler Linderbaum at center, you've had some success moving defensive players or wanting to move defensive players. I remember, I think you wanted Aaron Campman to play center and it didn't work out. Your son was a terrific defensive tackle at City High, and then he's still in the NFL. At what point in that first year, for a couple of years ago, did you look at Tyler and go, you know what, that might be his best spot, and kind of have a soft spot for centers as it is?
Well, first of all, Aaron Campman probably wouldn't talk to me today if I had done that. So I'm glad we didn't make that suggestion. I kept that one to myself. I guess not to myself unless it's shared with the media too. But anyway, we didn't make that decision. He ends up being an all-pro defensive player, and what a great player he was. But I guess the point there is those leadership qualities that he possessed, and just his motor, his just desire that he played with on play in and play out. Those are good, desirable traits for a guy who's in the middle on the offensive line. And then James's case, James is 6 foot. He'll tell you 6'1", but like, he's 6 foot. So what else is he going to do? It's one position where you can play when you're not maybe as tall enough to get on the roller coasters at Kennywood Park. But, so that's what it is. But it just, with Tyler, it started in high school. We all were in agreement. It wasn't like I, had a brainstorm on that one. I think we all were in agreement. This guy was just a really good football player, both sides of the ball. Good athlete in other sports as well, wrestling, baseball. So he's a football player. He's got a great love for the game, great love for his teammates, and was a good leader in high school. Certainly has been a good leader here. And it was kind of a natural. But as I've said before, if we had three of them, we'd have him playing center, and the other two guys would be guards, or they'd be playing defensive tackle. He's one of those football players who can do a lot of things. He's just a delight to have on the team.
The next question from Lynn Harrington.
All right, Coach. You had the opportunity to see Sean Clifford in action last season. However, he was benched at halftime in Nebraska, and Will Levis, relieved him. Is there anything that stood out from Levi's to you on film or your scouting report that you had opportunity to see?
Yeah, we actually had him in camp here. I think we might have been the first, Power 5 offer that he had. I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying that. And he was, I think he was interested and enamored until Penn State came along and offered him. So that was the end of that relationship. And I say that jokingly. He's a first-class young man, and it was a delight to get to know a little bit. So we had very high regard for him back before his senior year in high school. And so it comes as no surprise to us that he's a good player. And Clifford's a really good football player too. And I don't know if they've made an announcement on who's going to start. We fully expect Clifford to start. If not, they're both good players. They're both capable of running and throwing, and that makes them really tough to defend.
Next question from John Sears.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Penn State 0-4. Is that something you have to guard against this week in your team, not overlooking a team that's 0-4 and thinking like, hey, we can just roll into Happy Valley and roll past these guys?
Yeah, I thought about that a little bit, and then all you have to do is look at the film. And if that doesn't get your attention, because as I mentioned, it's been this way for, 22 years I've been back here now. But I go back to 1980. That was my first trip there as a coach, as a grad assistant. But I can't remember ever being on the field where their guys don't look really good and then play really well and play hard, and they're good at every position. So, when our guys look at the film, unless they're just delusional, they're seeing what we're seeing. A lot of guys that are good football players. Things aren't just quite clicking yet. And my guess is it's going to at some point. I just hope it isn't this Saturday. But, we have to prepare. First of all, we haven't beaten these guys in a decade, right? That's a long time. And there's a reason for that. They're a good football team, good operation. And, we're going to have to be at our best to even have a chance to win this thing.
The next question from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Kirk, what kind of, this has been a difficult year for everybody and doing everything. You got COVID, you had what happened over the summer, even into the fall. Last week, some former players filed a lawsuit. You have supporters who've withdrawn their support because of kneeling. How difficult has this been for you on a personal level, just to try to try to coach your team and when you have all these different factors, the confluence happening at the same time?
Well, it's kind of like my whole life, I guess. I mean, the thing I've enjoyed the most in my life is coaching outside of my family. I'll start with that. But, my professional life, I've enjoyed coaching. I enjoyed teaching when I was a teacher. Then I became functionally illiterate in 1980 when I went to college coaching. But I've enjoyed every bit of it. And, part of it is just because it's, you're in a society, if you will, or a group where everybody's kind of like-minded. We're all trying to do the same thing. And, so it's something we all enjoy. I think, the people that play it, the people that work it, you do it because you really enjoy it. That's your number one reason for doing it. And, it kind of gives you some balance, I guess, in some ways. But the other part about it, the things you mentioned, if you learn anything in life, life comes at you, right? Robert Frost, life goes on. That was his quote, and I would add to it that life comes at you. So, nothing stays the same, nothing's static. Life's not static by any chance, if you're living. if you're doing something. So, you try to deal with everything that comes your way as smart as you can. And we've been 2-18. We have had the things happen that you've referenced, and you just try to deal with it on a day-to-day basis, do the best you can. And when you get up in the morning, you try to do the same thing over again. And that's pretty much the answer that that I would have for you. That's just what you do. And then if you're around good people on a daily basis, it makes things a lot easier. And that's one thing I've always taken solace. Been very fortunate in my life to be around good people in my network, if you will, whether it's personal life or everywhere I've coached. We've particularly the 30 years here, we've had really good people around us and good people that have been through this program that are supportive. And, to me, that's the beauty of sports, I guess.
The next question from Jeff Johnson.
Yeah, Coach, just a little off topic. Apologize for that, but you've got a couple of kids from Cedar Rapids who are just students that help out the program. I think one works directly with Brian. Can you talk or tell me a little bit about? I don't think a lot of people know really about the what these kids do. Maybe what their importance is to the program, and what do you hope that they get out of their situation?
Hopefully it's a good experience for them. We had a guy 17 years ago who graduated from the Wharton Business School and, is working in New York City and never left there. But he took a sabbatical and came here for a season. It was 2002, I believe. And at the end of the year, he said that was the most valuable class he'd ever been involved in. I'm thinking, holy smokes, you've been wasting a lot of money, or, something's delusional there. But, all these guys that help out, young guys, or they're student assistants, whatever, they just have a love for the game like we do. And so it's a way for them to make contributions and help the coaches, with, paperwork, statistics, all those kinds of things. They can't actually necessarily be out there coaching, but they can do things that help around the office, help with recruiting. So I think it's a good life experience for them, especially if they're trying to figure out if they want to get into this profession. So that part's great. But that's one of the neat things about this. Guy that I used to teach with, John Bridge, was here back in '99, and he's more of a basketball guy. He was amazed how many people were involved, and obviously everybody's football organizations have grown since 1999. But how many people just help make this thing move forward? And I think about that a lot. You think about our student managers, the work that they do. It's unbelievable. It's extremely impressive. And if you had a business in the private sector, you'd hire those guys, because I'll tell you, they get up early, they work hard, they stay up late. We get back from a road trip like Saturday, and you're unpacking things. But my point there is there's a lot of people that help make the organization be successful. It's not just the players or the coaches. They're out there in the front, but there's a lot of people working, and I think they all find value in what they do. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't do it, because they're certainly not getting paid very much, if anything.
Thank you.
Yep.
Coach, the next question from Chad Leistico.
Hey, what happened with Jack Heflin's elbow, and is he going to be okay? It looked like he had a sleeve on it after he got hurt, and he didn't come back in. So is he okay? He's
fine. Yeah, he's been practicing. He's fine. And I'm just smiling here. He's like a 45-year-old guy. He talked about, Zach joining our team. Here's another guy comes from the outside, and he should be in one of those football movies, one of those, whatever. I'm not very good on movies, but like he'd be a perfect character. Maybe the next Alex Karras. Just got a great personality. He's like a 48-year-old guy that lives next to you. That's what he reminds me of. He's just the kind of neighbor you want to visit with. I mean, he's awesome. He's brought a good life to our team, and he's a pretty tough, hard-minded guy.
And then a quick follow-up just with Hankins. How does that, I mean, you don't usually have 6 captains, so this is kind of new turf for you. Was there, is there anything, like you said, it was a close vote. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, a couple thoughts on that. I think there's a rule. I don't know. I'm not good on rules either, but I think the rule's 5, right? So I think we've had 6 at times, and only 5 can go out in normal circumstances. Well, we're in COVID now, so one guy can actually go out for the toss. So it's as simple as this. We vote every week. Our leadership group, they vote, and if there's a tie, I got to tell you, all the guys that are captains, like they're all in the same cluster. But Matt rose up into that same cluster and is actually tied with some other guys. So how do you do a tiebreaker? I don't know. We're not going to flip a coin. So it's house money right now, right? I mean, only one guy can go out anyway. So Matt certainly is worthy of it. He's been playing hard, practicing hard. As a senior, really respected, and just it's good to see his efforts be recognized by his peers.
The next question from Scott Docterman.
Kirk, when you look at Alaric Jackson and the way he's played this year through 4 games, is this kind of what you would have expected last year if he hadn't have sprained his knee? And he just seems to be really competing at a high level. What are your thoughts on the way he's battled so far this year?
Yeah, I talked about Chauncey earlier in the session here, and same story, only a different story because Chauncey came in as a skinny kid. AJ was a heavy kid, and I've been around linemen for a long time now. It's hard for big guys to lose weight, and he's done an unbelievable job with that. I think showing extreme discipline, and we've watched him grow and develop every step of the way too. And I think you made a key point earlier. Last year wasn't his best year there in the middle, when he came back. But I got to tell you, a year ago spring, when we had spring, and then a year ago August, he had unbelievable, spring and August camp, and was really playing well. Unfortunately, got hurt right off the bat, and I don't think it took him a long time to catch his rhythm coming back. Injuries are tough to come off of. So what he's done this year is probably what he would have been doing last year, at least close to, and he's just playing like a 5th-year senior. He's playing smart. He's playing really, great focus and concentration. He's got good ability, but he's using everything he's got right now and doing it better than he has ever since he got here. And again, it goes to that point I made earlier. If our best guys aren't playing their best, we're going to have some problems. So he's certainly helping the cause on that front.
Question from Jeff Johnson.
Yeah, Kirk, just the interception, the amounts of interception, the consecutive games with interceptions that you guys have had. I think you lead the nation since 2017 in that category. What do you attribute that to?
I'd like to tell you we have a drill for it. I've heard coaches talk about drills for turnovers and all that, or different gimmicks and all that stuff. We don't do that, but we do try to coach. Just good technique and fundamentals. And I think film study is a big part of it too. A lot of it's, being in the right place, right time. And then a lot of it is just, being an in-tune football player and then hustling, working hard, hustling. And there's teamwork involved there too. Tip balls are great opportunities for interceptions, that type of thing. So obviously somebody's got to tip it before you have a chance to go get it. But yeah, I don't think we're any different than anybody else. We emphasize the same things, I think. And, our guys have they've been playing well and they've been opportunistic. So certainly pleased about it, but I don't know if we have any magic potion or, pixie dust or anything like that. It's just guys are doing a good job. And, some guys, I'll also say this, some guys are more just have a knack of doing things a little bit. Joe Von Johnson seemed to get his hands on the ball every day at practice during his career here. So some guys have that little bit of knack, but I think the guys are just working hard. They're hustling and, just really, really proud of them. And it certainly helps us be a successful football team.
All right, Coach, I think that's all we got. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thanks, guys.
We will have a transcript this afternoon and a reminder that we will have coordinators available Thursday beginning at 2:15. So thank you all very much for your time.